In the last video, we talked about how to name branched alkanes according to IUPAC rules. Before we move on to the next functional groups, we need to talk about a type of nomenclature a little outside of IUPAC. Chemists often see substituents that repeat across samples and compounds. These substituents tend to be small carbon chains, and having to repeat the entire IUPAC name gets annoying. For this reason, chemists divide common names for some isomers of small carbon chains, including propane, butane, and pentane. These hydrocarbons take on forms that are seen very often, and so it's important to remember the common name for some of these isomers. Sometimes, especially when part of a more important functional group, ethane is called an acetyl group. For example, this is acetic acid. You don't have to know the IUPAC name of this compound yet, since it's a carboxylic acid, but it's useful to remember what an acetyl group is. Propane, when attached to a larger group, has two constitutional isomers. Whatever it's attached to is represented by the squiggly line. We can either have the straight chain unbranched form of propane, or propyl, or the attachment in the middle of the propane, called isopropyl. Butane, similarly, can be attached to a larger group by the end of its straight chain unbranched form, called butyl. However, butane can still be attached at the end, but one of the carbons moves to form a tertiary carbon, called isobutyl. The straight chain can also be attached to one of the secondary carbons, forming sec-butyl. Finally, butane can also form into an X, with a tertiary carbon in the middle. When a larger group attaches to this tertiary carbon, the group is tert-butyl. Pentane can be attached to a larger group by its straight chain unbranched form, called pentyl. However, we can form a tertiary carbon using pentane. If a larger group attaches to the tertiary carbon directly, the pentane is called tert-pentane. If a larger group attaches to the end of the pentane with a tertiary carbon, the pentane is called neopentyl. Notice that we don't have a sec-pentyl group. This is because calling pentane secondary doesn't give us enough information. The larger group can be attached to either the middle carbon or the second carbon from the right and from the left. Once again, it's useful to commit these groups to memory. However, when asked to write an IUPAC name, some professors don't want common names included. I suggest clarifying with your professor the requirements that they might have. In the next video, we'll move on with IUPAC naming rules, focusing on alkyl halides and alcohols. Practice the concepts we discussed in this video with the free worksheets and answer keys linked in the description below. See you guys in the next video.